Did you do anything fun with your weekend?
So I think I'm
Or is it just another
aimed
weekend?
pretty much at the mic. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to Rocky Mountain Inventors. We're a 501c3 nonprofit educational. And just tonight only, well, we've been here the last meeting, but this is our last night in the auditorium here. We'll be back in the chapel from here on out. And so we meet the second and fourth Mondays, 7 to 9 p.m., same place. And let's see, upcoming meetings. I've got Brian Callaghan of Bison coming in the second Monday of May. So he was here, I think, a little over a year ago, but he's got a lot of experience in Chinese manufacturing on products. So if you have any connection or interest in that, it'd be a good time to come. And then the second meeting in May will be with Anthony Pritchard, YouTube social media stuff. He's been here a few times before. And then the first meeting in June is I'm going to do a talk on patent support for functionally claimed inventions. So it's kind of software related, but I'll be distributing a presentation put together by the patent office. It's for examiners, but if you have an invention that you want to patent that is mostly functional and not structural, this would be of interest to you and how to make that work for you.
How would you describe the difference between functional and structural?
Okay, a function is I'm claiming an invention does something. You know, like it's I take a Wi-Fi signal and I'm adding security encryption to it for protection from hackers. Okay, that's the function. The structure of something like that would be the specific software code and maybe some hardware to make it all work.
Okay.
So
a process-oriented thing then?
yeah, it's more process-oriented.
Not necessarily related to tangible.
Right. And people like to do that. It's more difficult to get approved at the patent office. They like to do that because they get broader coverage. So that way you're trying to protect a system of things getting done, but you're leaving the hardware in wide open. So that if somebody, you know, later on comes up with different hardware to accomplish the same function, your patent can still go after them. But it's a little dicey. You have to be careful how you do it, and we're going to get into that. And then I've got a speaker. He hasn't committed to a date, but his name's John Kelly, and he's been an angel and venture capitalist, and he's in medical data, and he's got a pretty fair-sized company. So he's got a lot of good experience in getting a company going and that kind of information. So that's kind of what's coming up. And if anyone here you've got an idea that you haven't already disclosed or you don't have patent pending on, you know, be sure to still keep it confidential, or at least the details of it confidential. You can talk about it very generically, but don't say so much that someone can figure out how to make it and use it. Anyway, we'll do a round robin. Everyone take about a minute, introduce yourself and what you got going on. And I guess we'll start with you in the back.
I'm Sasha. I've been here quite a while. I'm preoccupied, but really wanting to put myself back on track to move myself in the right direction on something. So
Okay.
I'm here to learn, as always.
Good. And if you have any ideas for a topic you'd like coverage, we can do it. We can also, we've done this a few times. We've brought people in with Skype, from out of state or even out of the country that can present, and we can do interactive questions. It actually doesn't work too bad.
I do have an idea. Helping people to get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
It exists in your head and on paper.
Yeah, to get from first gear to second gear to third gear, yeah.
Exactly.
Paul.
I'm Paul Moran. We have a product that we use on wood and some fabrics that makes it impossible for it to burn on its own. And it's, we have a patent on it now, and we're trying to get some sales started. And that's one of the reasons I'm here tonight, to see what we can learn about this venture, this part of the venture.
Great.
It
And
seems
Paul
like
has,
it's a hell of a lot easier to invent something. And I was in the building business my career. It's a lot easier to build a 5-story building than it is to start one of these new companies on today's.
the transition, yeah, from product to businesses, that's the challenge. Steve?
Well, I've invented a device that unloads pallets from vehicles and loads, transports. And in answer to your questions and what you're looking for, I can tell you I am about 44 pages into my business plan. Okay? And I work on it all the time. And I change a lot. And I try to emphasize the unique aspects of what I'm doing without being repetitive or obnoxious. And what all of that has done is helped me crystallize my thinking on some of the capabilities, what it should have in it, and what, more importantly, what I've come to realize lately is what it shouldn't have in it. What, you know, you actually have to limit yourself to what is truly important and be able to communicate that effectively. So if you've got an idea, start writing, because your job is to write. A lot of people think, well, my job is to invent. No, 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 no. Your job is to write about what you think. And all of this, every bit of it, is a thought problem. That's all it is. Because
Yeah,
materials and construction techniques and everything else have to be thought out ahead of time. And how you put something together is less important than how you describe it to someone else. Because if you can't communicate your ideas, you don't have an invention. You don't. Thank you.
Great.
I'm an inventor, and well, that's what I call myself. But I have a few ideas on products, and I've done a few prototypes, and I've actually, what have I actually done? I actually had a patent years ago, and I didn't have a marketing person, and I tried to do it myself. And it was a very simple product, however, trying to raise a family and do all these things, I kind of gave up. So I'm back with some new ideas, and every time I think of one idea, I'll be darned if I don't think of another one coming right behind me. So I find that.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I got to say, because you know, I like to be around other people that have ideas, or listen to, like this gentleman here in front of me, tell me that, explain to me that if you write about it, it does crystallize the you know, the most important parts about what it is. So
Yeah,
that's why I'm
documentation
here.
is important. Okay, and Henry?
Bob, my name's Bob Long. I'm trying to, I don't know if I designed something, and I like to do a business to business and then personalized games, stuff like that. But I'm very interested in the marketing aspect of putting it on, you know, marketing things like that on Etsy's and Amazon's and stuff like that. Maybe not Amazon, but, you know,
Okay,
putting a product out there and being able to learn what gets or what captivates people to go to your website. So that's what
you got a great presentation tonight.
Yeah,
And Greg in the back.
I'm Greg. I am very green, very new to this. Never been in one of these meetings. I had an idea. Met Roger and went to the Denver library and did some research, wrote some information down, went back to Roger. Just trying to, get this off the ground and pick up some information and learn about this. And there's so many aspects about it, it's just overwhelming. So hope to,
Yeah, and you've got a trademark approved, so now we just need to.
yes, yeah, there you go. Yeah, we're working the process.
Yeah.
Doing the steps. I feel like I'm in working the steps and trying to get get moving. I understand it's a long process and it's very complicated. My goodness, I just don't understand it. So I'm learning. So I appreciate you guys. And look forward to learning with you.
Okay.
Me?
Yeah.
I'll stand up because I'm short. So, I'm Tish. I am a guest of Brad.
Oh,
I am not an inventor, though I invent lots of words on a regular basis. Put things together. What I do is I'm an experienced designer. So while you're talking about what it is and why it works and all the things that you think should be in it, that's all great, unless there's no purpose for it in the lives of your customers who are going to buy it from the business standpoint. So what it does is great, but why somebody's going to want to buy it is really, really important. So as opposed to marketing, which is looking at, is there a market for it? When I work with customers, what we're looking at is, what are they actually trying to accomplish in their day-to-day lives? It's their journey that's not going to change. They're trying to get from A to B. And how does whatever you have actually fit into that? So your marketing becomes a lot easier because you understand from their perspective how your goodie fits into their world. So that's what I do.
Great. Gary?
Yep. Hi, my name is Gary. I have two exercise products. One is out on the market, very small number of sales, but we're making good progress on the Instagram account and getting opportunities to put some pitches in. And we have a beta version that will be out in May of the second product. So I hope to be able to piggyback on the first. And so this topic is particularly germane at this point for us to get the word out.
Okay, and Roberto?
I'm Roberto Scana. I'm a patent agent and board member. I've been practicing patent law for 15 years now. I am the U.S. correspondent of a few Italian patent law firms, so I'm doing the U.S. prosecution of patent application. They've already been fighting Europe most of the time, and sometimes I deal with the local inventor as well. So that's, and I'm the electrical engineer.
Okay, so our speaker tonight is Brad Strong, who's also a member, and it's on websites. And we usually encourage questions during the presentation so we can get them. We have a live stream and it'll be recorded video and on our YouTube channel. So you can catch it later or other presentations. Oh, you're ready?
Okay, thanks, Roger. And Roberto, you're sitting right behind an Italian car fanatic. Tish has 2 or 3 Italian cars, and she's
Whoa.
I'm also
Yeah,
a meaningful
crazy.
podcaster. I'm a member of the Italian American Business Association. You need to come to that.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yes, very nice.
Okay, so the title, how to clearly present your product with media and 8 factors for a compelling webpage. So I'm only going to hit like one angle. This is a very big topic. So I'll hit the angle I, prepared for. But again, it's open to discussion. And if we get too bogged down, I may say, hold the questions till the end. For now, let's just keep it open. Just a little bit about me. I'm a kind of a closet inventor. I've never brought anything to market, but I've got a closet full of prototypes and things I'm working on. My background is MCAD. I started out as a demo jock for CAD software, and I got into media and teaching animation and web development and all that stuff and game development. And I was an NC programmer for a while. And I've led over 100 student group projects in Denver and in Sweden, media projects, and one in Belgium. And I own Denver Web and Video, and I develop websites, videos, blogs, animations, and that kind of thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
NC, numerical control?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's.
So I worked at Rolls-Royce in Sweden, and we made giant propeller blades, and I did NC programming for those. We did,
For the machine.
yeah.
Okay.
So I worked with machine operators a lot. But these blades were much taller than me. One single blade would be like the cost of a house, you know. And it was pretty exciting since I didn't know Swedish yet. So I had to learn to program some of this stuff in a language where the manual was written in Sweden. So that drove me half crazy. Anyway, factor 1 of the 8 factors is clear messaging. So your website should have clear messaging. That is, who's your perfect customer? You should give that some thought. What do they need and what are they interested in? And what is it exactly that makes your product or invention better or makes their lives better? How's it going to change them? Because that's all what they care about is themselves. So think about that messaging. And just along those lines, this is kind of a chart I made for my students when I was teaching media. You got to think about the sender on the left side and the receiver on the right side. And there's all this stuff in between. And there's a big picture of this on my website. My latest blog talks about this, and you can download the big picture. But all good food for thought. And I'm going to zoom in on a couple of things. The intention, the purpose, the goal, the aim that you have as a sender of message, and who you're writing for, who are your readers, what are you going to say, what's the message, what do you really want them to do, what's the goal? Do you want them to look at your video? Do you want them to download a PDF? Do you want them to give your Facebook page a like? You got to think about what you want them to do, and is there a time constraint here? And by the way, time constraints can be really good for us trying to get people to do things, because if you say it's only for another 8 hours or 8 days, that motivates people. Scarcity is a tactic you can use. So if you just leave it open for forever, there's less chance they're going to do it than if you say there's limited time. And what's the genre? What's the context? And then just for convincing people of things, there's 3 ways I've listed here, at least, to do that. One of them is logos, a logical argument. 8 out of 10 doctors agree that, Sominex will help you sleep, whatever it is. That's logic, because there's numbers involved, there's facts involved. Pathos is an emotional argument. When I see the Nike Just Do It, I get motivated on an emotional level. You could also use words to emotionally motivate people. The old Charles Atlas ads that say, call the little guy scrawny. That's an emotional word to make the guy want to go buy the Charles Atlas bodybuilding kit, right? And then ethos, that's an ethical argument. It's with trust, believability, credibility. So if you have a celebrity who endorses your product, that's going to be, they're going to lend their trust, their stature to your product. So when someone sees Michael Jordan endorse your new basketball device, that adds, some credibility to it, some trust, believability. Okay. Oh, you can also have ethical credibility if this is something to help at-risk kids, or it's good for our environment, or if you even say that our product is 100% recyclable. Those are also good ethical arguments. And usually it's not just one argument, you're usually using 2 or 3 at a time. So they work best together. Okay, so factor 2, appropriate targeted content. So the right content will draw visitors to your website. That is another reason why you need to know who your target audience is. And you can't just say, my invention, my product, everybody needs it. The whole world needs it. You're setting yourself up for failure because it doesn't work that way. The more you can narrow it down, the better you can zoom in on that exact person and that characteristic that is ideal for your product and increases your chance of selling it. So when you say those key words that applies to Greg, let's say, now the people who are similar to Greg are they're gonna light up when they see that. So think about it. Is it male, female, age group, hobbies? What kind of a profile would your product fit best? And go after that. And one easy way to do that, if you've got a little history, is analyze your past customers, your past interactions. What were the best ones? What are your happiest customers? Google Analytics. You get Google Analytics for free when you have a website. You just have to prove that you own it. So you have to put a little bit of their code into your htaccess file or into your header, and you'll now have access to your analytics. And this is a little hard to read, but what I'm looking at here is under Behavior Overview. I'm looking at the pages that are the most commonly hit. And right about, here's where I'm clicking on Overview. And here are my top ranked pages, and I blew that up here. So this is for my major client. Their name is Transmagic. And this is their most popular page is the home page. You see the slash, that means it's the home page. This is the next most popular page, and this is the next one after that.
Here's a pointer.
Oh, thanks. I was going to bring one. Thank you. Okay, so these first three, they're all three blogs. In fact, this is a blog, and this is a blog, and this is a custom web page that could be a blog. So what's powerful about blogs or articles that you think your customers will be interested in is it draws traffic to your website. If you just consider this page and this page, there's more hits just on those two pages than there is on the home page. So the home page is typically the big destination when people are going to your site. But if you can create articles that draw people to your site besides just the web page, now you're talking about some serious traffic. Because one year I did for these guys, 60 blog posts, right? So now potentially you've got like 10x traffic if you have some good blog posts. So that comes from thinking about your target audience. And who's our target audience? Is Transmagic. They make CAD translators. One of the biggest targets is people who use SolidWorks, the most popular CAD, computer-aided design for mechanical MCAD product out there. It has the lion's share of the market. So we do stuff in SolidWorks. If I talk about SolidWorks, I've got a bunch of people interested.
Someone searches Google, they might just key into your blog first.
Yeah.
And then that could take them to your site.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And I'll just go a little further. You can also look at with Google Analytics behavior flow. And I can see my behavior flow. A lot of people come in through the home page and they go over here, and some of them get into CAD formats, and some of those people end up over here in CAD translation. So you can see there's a flow. And what you want to do is keep the drop off minimal. You want to keep them bouncing around on your site like a pinball machine, or you want them to convert. What does convert mean? You want them to do what it is you want them to do. That is, watch your video, sign up for your whatever it is, your newsletter. Think about what you want them to do. It kind of gets back to that first messaging thing. What do you want the receiver of your message to do? Okay, so here's the SolidWorks blog I wrote. And actually, at this phase, what I was looking for was curatable content. I don't want to write every article myself. That's a lot of work. So I go out and try to find a good article, and then I talk about it. And I did that so well in this case that I get more hits than the people who wrote the article. So all I do is summarize what they did. They did a great study on how to optimize SolidWorks. So I just gave it a good title, Optimizing SolidWorks Performance. And I give them credit, of course. And then, of course, you got your recent posts here. So now maybe somebody looks over here and says, oh, now I'll read this. And you get a little Yeah,
So you embedded that article on your site?
no, I wrote an article, I made my own graphic, I wrote about their article.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you create a pop-up link if they wanted to read that one?
Oh, yeah,
Not
yeah,
go to the
not a
website?
pop-up link, because I personally hate pop-ups. But at the end, I wrote, if you want to read the rest of the article, click here.
All right. Opens in a different window, keeps your,
No, yeah, I usually do that. Yeah, it opens up in another tab.
right.
Yeah. Right, that's a good point.
Because you can't embed the article on your site because that's a copyright.
Yeah, I don't try to embed stuff.
Right.
Well, I'll embed videos, but they're my videos,
Right.
right? So, good point though, when you make links, you can set them up so they open up in a new window so that they still have your site open up in the original window and then go back to it. They don't lose your site. You don't want to throw away your traffic. Also, here's the, if you do a Google search on SOLIDWORKS performance, the first thing you get is an article written by SOLIDWORKS itself, Maximize SOLIDWORKS Performance. And then you get ours, Optimizing SOLIDWORKS Performance TransMagic. So I get that, and then I looked at another one, Optimizing SOLIDWORKS. That's a different search. And we nailed it for that one too. Even though someone else's graphic got in there, that's okay because we still have the hot link here, and then we have the number 2 hit too. So that's not bad for an article I didn't even have to, they did the study, I just capitalized on it because it was great, and I summarized it probably better than they did. Because sometimes these things that you curate, like curate in a museum, sometimes they're very long-winded, and people like to scan and see stuff fast. And so that's what you can do if you kind of summarize in a nice way.
I might just make a little quick copyright
Sure.
statement that's called fair use, and you can comment on someone else's, say, reporting or material, as long as you give source credit, and you're doing it for contrast and comparison. You're not, knocking it off for your own commercial gain, but it's for contrast and comparison, and you can claim fair use, and so that's legal, as long as you give source credit too.
And it's a thing in the blog world, curating content from other people. They like it too because it ultimately gives them more traffic too. So this is another one I did. I think I showed you the CAD formats page. This was like number 4 or 5 of all the TransMagic page hits. And this gets really good ranking also. And what was I going to say about this? I just used some basic HTML to make up a list of all the different CAD formats, what the extensions are, if they're precise or tessellated or polygonal or whatever, who makes them, just information that people search for in the CAD world or in the manufacturing world. People get stuck. They get a weird file from somebody like, what's this? And then they Google and search it, and here they find the answer. And then just a decent graphic. Doesn't take long to make these kinds of graphics. It helps to have a graphic. And here's doing that CAD translation software search. You can see there's a couple of ads. You can see those are ads. And then we've got first spot on page 1 on Google. And then we've got, we don't have first spot for CAD translation, but our graphic does. That's a graphic I did in Illustrator. So my graphic, if somebody clicks on that, they don't go to Core Technology, who's one of our competitors. They go to our website, right? So that counts too. Graphics are good too. A lot of times people go for the graphic, yeah.
So just to clarify for everybody, the stuff that Brad's doing, he didn't pay money for. He's not paying Google or anybody to get those rankings. It's because of doing it organically.
Yep.
And knowing what the people are looking for automatically gives it, I invent words, gives it to the Google and puts it up front. So
Right.
You don't have to pay for this stuff if you really think about who your people are and what they're looking for. You can hit the first page just by using your brain.
So you're
Exactly.
trying to get the benefit of AdWords without
Doing
paying for
paying,
AdWords.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed that there are 2 ads. I see them all the time.
Yeah, these 2 ads.
Those 2 ads, okay. And often, for whatever reason, the thing that I'm looking for that's up there in the search box,
Mhm.
the ads have almost nothing to do with that.
Well, when they pay for those ads,
Yeah.
they can say what keywords they want them to be tied to. So
Okay.
you will find those mismatches sometimes. But in-
It's so expansive, it's,
What I usually do when I'm looking for something, when I Google search, I don't even look at the ad. I don't even click on the ads. My eye and mind automatically goes to the first legit search return, because I know that Google's search algorithm is going to put that up high. And exactly what Tish said, the organic search, to do good on that, content is king. If you have good content, you're going to do well there. And after a while, you figure it out. When you see who's ranking high for your search term, let's say you want to do a electric skateboard or something. See who else is doing good for that and see what they did. Learn from your competitors.
If sometimes for really something really popular,
Mhm.
there's a whole list of 40 ads, and then in the second or third page, the
Mhm.
legitimate search comes back.
Yeah, well, sometimes I'll just go to Bing. When I get frustrated with Google, I'll sometimes just go over to Bing because it gives you good results too. Or just go to the next page, whatever you have to do. But it's unfortunate. A lot of money is driving things, but this is pretty typical. You get a couple ads. Here you have one ad, and then you get the real legit search results. So that's more typical.
So the URL doesn't really help?
URL does help. Let's say that your URL is electric skateboard. That gives you a little more link juice to rank higher on that first page. Yeah. If it was called Doggy Bone or whatever, that's not really related to your product, and it's not going to do so well to correlate. So
probably gonna
like,
show up in pet food searches or something.
yeah, but my company is Denver Web and Video. See, it kind of fits what I do. My old company was Elucidation Media. The only people who appreciated that name were teachers, right? So I kind of moved away from that. So you got to think about your product name and your URL name. And then this is just that. If they click on that image, that takes them here, and then they go to this, and they'll take them to the site, and then they're at the blog. Scannable pages. This is factor 3. When people are driving on the internet, you need to have billboards because people are going like 100 miles an hour, and everybody's been through it. There's probably not a person in here that hasn't been going fast, looking for something, and you get to a web page and you're like, that isn't it. You don't hesitate long before you go to the next search item, right? So you gotta design for people who are in a hurry, and so you use billboard tactics. So when you're driving on the highway or anywhere around town and you see a billboard, the most important stuff is at the top and it's in big letters and it's made to grab your attention. So you have to use the same tactics when you're creating web pages. And we scan from left to right and then down, and so you design with that in mind, and that's called the F pattern. And they've done eye tracking studies to see what people do, where their eyes go on a web page. And this is what they do, and it's called the golden triangle. So here, this is people searching for something on a Google. Whatever the search terms in there, it doesn't matter. But you can see that the eye spends a lot of time here and goes to the right and then goes here. And we read left to right. In Israel, they're going to be going from right to left, right? And we start heaviest at the top, and then you can see the third, the fourth ranking, you start to lose a little bit of interest because they didn't find what they want. They're about to go to page 2 or put in some different search terms, right? So that's why you need to be near the top of page 1 in a perfect world. That's where you want to be. So you can see that, rank 1, 2, and 3, they're getting 100% of this person's eyeballs. Down at rank 10, they get 20%. Page 2 is going to be lower than that. That's why there's this fight for page 1. And when you go along with that thing, you're driving fast on the highway, you don't have time to read that.
You want your text to be hierarchical, that is bigger to smaller, chunked, see these chunks, scannable, that is you can look at that fast. And this is called lorem ipsum. This isn't real text, but this is what web designers use to fill it as filler text until they know what they're going to say. Because if I was doing a website for you, we might put some of this together and you'd see that's what my page is going to look like, even though the words aren't right. I know it's kind of going to feel like. So we agree, okay, let's move ahead and let's put the words together now. And you can see that we got some bulleted items here, a bulleted list, and some bolded titles. So it's really easy to tell if I'm looking for something like vestibulum, if that was a real thing, I could catch that real fast. Oh yeah, they got what I want. Now I can read a little bit more. Otherwise, I'm off to another page. People want to scan. They don't want to read. And here's the likelihood of getting a click based on rank. Page 1 results, pretty good, about 1/3. Rank 10 on the page 1, 3%. And when you go to page 2, drops quite a bit. And it's almost nothing when you get to page 2. So again, you want to be near the top if you want to get someone to click. It's a brutal world out there. Factor 4 is use quality pertinent images. So images should pertain to the text. And here's something, some of you guys know Ed Wilson. He has a company called Minitronics. And he makes security software, fiber optic system software that protects computers and anything of value. You could run a fiber optic loop through, this laptop opening here, through here, and if someone broke the circuit by trying to steal that and cutting it, it would set off the alarm because the light signal gets interrupted. It's a pretty cool little device. And he had some text on his website that was, the most versatile security system. So he had some kind of generic picture in there, and I changed it to this. So I used a light box and got a lot of his stuff and just took good shots of them and we kind of arranged them. So now we have a pertinent image for that, right? It makes sense. You see the text, the image goes with it. You're a little bit more convinced that, hey, this might be something I could use. The other thing we did here was these are cropped and they're adjusted for good tonality. So these aren't just images you took in a hurry with your mobile phone. These are images that have a really good background, really good lighting. They're cropped so you just see what you really want to see, and they have good tonality. And they're optimized. We'll talk about that in a minute. Here's a bad image. This is a great guy who did his own site. Hopefully we're going to work together. He he's got a business and it's working and he's making money, but I think if he cleaned it up and don't go to multiple colors like this and don't put red over red, and that's just not a readable title. That's not a good, and it's kind of a pertinent image, but it's not a super good fit for the context of where he was putting it.
When you see a website like that, they've done it themselves.
Yeah, there's a lot of those
I can
out
do
there.
colors and fonts. Oh boy, this is fun.
Yeah, it's amazing. Some of them, they're viable companies, but I think they could do better. And this is just a close-up of that one that's showing all the different versatility of that product.
It's a fairly bland set of images.
Well, what it's trying to show here is all the different ways you could use the fiber optic cable to protect things.
But I don't see that.
What do you think would be better?
I would say that. These are the ways you can use it.
Oh, yeah, well, so you're saying that the verbiage should be changed?
Absolutely. That
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense.
Well,
I don't know what that means. I don't know how world's most versatile relates to what I'm seeing in the pictures.
I think what I would argue, and you may be onto something, what I'd argue is there's versatility in the different ways you could use it. That's the versatility.
But you're not explaining that versatility that is meaningful. I mean, I see things, they're
Just wires.
they're just wires.
Yeah, but we're trying to show the product.
Who's the audience though? one of us, or is it specifically people who already know that industry?
Right.
and know what
No,
they're doing?
I think that you both have good points, but when I got to his site, there were no pictures of the product at all.
Take a
So-
sledgehammer and beat that man hard.
Well, there may need to be some rethinking of the verbiage, but at that time, I'm just saying, let's let the verbiage be. Let me put some pictures that fit that verbiage. Yeah,
From a experience design aspect of it, if I were to tell your client how to improve this or say, hey,
Mhm.
Brad, this is what you should do,
mhm,
I think what's missing is the why does it help you? So you say what it is
mhm.
and what it does, but not why is it useful. A way that could work with the images you already have, for you to have, here's your thing, you're showing it hooking up, ta-da,
Mhm,
now in the,
mhm.
1, 2, 3,
Mhm.
so they can see it, and then you show the different
You mean
items
like
below.
laying words over the picture?
Mhm. Laying words over the picture usually isn't a great idea. Under, over is good. When you go over the top of it, then you run into issues like the red thing that he had before. Especially because you've got different things, black text might work on one but not another, and you've got to mess with stuff. So it's a lot better
Separate the pictures and then
from
put
the
the words.
yeah,
at the
either
top.
under.
That's the
or
real
over
problem
is
here, as I see it. You've got a whole lot of pictures that relate to the product,
But I may only be interested in one of them because I didn't see all the rest.
and there's no explanation. I don't know what I'm looking at.
Well, this is a little piece of a bigger page.
Yeah, I'm sure there's more to it.
So let's
Yeah.
move on.
Okay.
I accept there may be something there, but I don't want to get bogged down.
Sure.
Okay, so you're making photos, prepare, you guys ever paint something and you didn't prepare well, and the paint did all kinds of weird stuff and you didn't tape right? Same thing in photos. Remove all the dust from the object, wipe things down, get rid of any distracting objects. If we were going to take a photo of something on this stage, we'd have to move all this gear off,
That's right.
right? So clear distractions, unnecessary articles, make sure the object is well lit, minimize shadows. And by the way, these soft lights that we're using here, this diffuse fabric keeps shadows from really being an issue, right? So what you want to do is that kind of thing. In fact, I brought this softbox in, and you can put products, if you've got products that aren't too big, you can put them in this light box and then shoot them while they're in there, and you can take plastic sheets that come with these things and set them up as your background inside the box. Different colors. You can shoot from up here. And so you're getting light from every direction. So this is one of the newer ones that's come out. It's really easy to set up. It all folds up in that little box. And so if you're going to do a lot of product shots, I'd suggest getting a light box.
Is that something you can pick up on Amazon?
I got it at Mike's Camera on
Okay.
Colorado. But I think so, yeah. I'm sure you can. So what else? Make sure it's lit. Do a white balance with a white sheet of paper before you shoot, because the light indoors or outdoors or different types of bulbs will vary, and you want really as white as you can get. So all cameras and video cameras have a white balance tool. Okay, camera with a tripod. There's tripods even for smartphones. You can still use your smartphone for a lot of photos. Tripod keeps the camera still, so your shots aren't blurry. Avoid any special effects because they just cheese up the image. Those are fine for teenagers or whatever, but don't do any effects and try to keep the camera still.
Well, on the newer cameras, if you push the button down just a little bit, before the picture, it will take a picture even if it's a moving object. It's a little trick with the camera. I don't know where I got it from, but
Yeah, okay. Well, now this is the light box made by Photomaster, Still Life Studio.
Cropping, give your subject room to breathe. Let's say that you're working on some athletic equipment and you got like a model and they're running with your whatever it is. In a case like that, if they're moving, give them a little room ahead and a little room behind to breathe. And if like it's a boat, leave a little room for the trail of the boat. But if it's not a moving object, go ahead and zoom in on the functional aspect of it. So this is his one of his lever, valve lever protectors. The original picture is the one on the left, but I'm zooming in to what's really pertinent because we don't want to waste any space. And adjust your tonality. You can do this in Photoshop under Image Adjustments, Levels, and just take the default. And you probably can't see it on this, on the projector, but it's a better image. It's a more readable image. There's another thing you can do in Photoshop where you can dodge where the light is. It's like from the old darkroom days. The enlarger is shining down, and you've got a really dark area. So you take a little piece of paper or something, you dodge that area so that the light doesn't burn it in so dark. And you can adjust the tonality that way too. And Photoshop has that, a dodge tool. Focus, blur the background. Yeah.
He's demonstrating the dodge with the water.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Talk about focusing.
Focus. Blur the background if you want to highlight a subject. For a good blur, increase the distance between the subject and the background. And if your subject's human, focus on the face, even the eyes. And here's a case where I'm focusing on the tuner. It's on a guitar, but you can see that both extremes of the guitar are blurred out, so we can really kind of focus on that tuner. And you can use the aperture mode on your camera to do that. And what you want is a larger aperture, and this stuff's easy to experiment with, and it's going to create a shallower range of focus. So only this much of it's in focus. All this stuff is blurred out. And if you do the opposite, small aperture, we can have focus a much longer distance. And then factor 5, make sure you clearly explain your product. So this is Ed's site again. His original first page was just these computers. So I put in the Minitronics logo that shows the fiber optic, and I kind of faked in some fiber optic cable because we had a time crunch. And I don't want to get you critical over here, but I wanted to make it closer to matching up to what it is. And then over here, some actual pictures of the product family. So this is the light guard unit that the fiber goes into and out of. And these are the different little traps that can be used to protect different items. And we saw that. All of the pictures before just were these kind of stock images from Shutterstock. It wasn't really talking about what it did, what it was, or clearly what it did. He had one of the tricky things with Ed. He had a really nice video from 1992 that talked about what it is, how it works, interviews with a couple of security specialists, and then interviews with some student thieves. And the thing was, this video is 640 by 480, really dated sounding and looking. We just couldn't use it, but didn't really have the budget to make a new video. So we cut out just those interview pieces and stuck them in here and just fade in, fade out. So we made, we put a little bit more stuff in here about what it is. But sometimes on a budget, you got to do the best you can do. And then how it works. There was no how it works page. So we built a how it works page where it talks about what this unit does and how the different aspects of it work and how you can protect something like a power strip. Power strips apparently disappear or disappeared a lot at colleges and high schools because the students want a power strip, they just take it from school. And then applications. So this is an application. We've got this little connector here, and when you press it down, they line up when it presses against this rubber. And when someone tries to open the access panel, we'll set off the alarm. And then I made him a video on how do you splice fiber optic cable, because it's complicated. And that would be so many pictures and so many words. Video just works better. Okay, factor 6, make sure your pages load fast. Google ranking includes a page speed assessment. That's a factor in how they rank things. And the other problem with page speed is if people get frustrated, it leads to bounces. And bounces is Google Analytics terminology for someone leaving your site. They bounce off the page. So pages that load in 2.4 seconds enjoyed a conversion rate of X. It flattens out as they load slower. And the bounce rate goes up as they load slower. So you need fast pages. Walmart did a whole thing where they improved their page speed from 7 seconds to 2.9 seconds. And obviously that's to increase their speed, and their speed rank went way up.
How do you do that?
Well, we'll talk about it in just a second. Cutting page load in half leads to 13% increase in sales, 9% increase in conversion rate. There's a lot of justification behind fast pages. So one thing you can do is see where your page speed is at right now. And the tool I like is GTmetrix. So I go to GTmetrix with my site, which is Denver Web and Video, and I got an A on page speed, but it was telling me my parsing of, all these are A's down here, all this is green, and I just cut out a little piece of it. But I got a C for my deferment of parsing of JavaScript, just to hold off on parsing JavaScript until the page is loaded. And I was getting an F or an E on whatever it was on leveraging browser caching. So what I did was I added the auto-optimize plugin. Now my page load speed went from 3.3 seconds to 4.0, but I wasn't done yet. Then I added Cache Enabler, another plugin, and I brought my speed down to 1.2 seconds. So from 3.3 to 1.2, that's pretty decent for 2 free plugins, right? And then, but it still says, hey, you're not leveraging your browser caching. Do you know what that means? You have to declare what images on your page aren't going to change for like 6 months, so that people who revisit your site won't try to load those pages again, so it makes it faster. But as someone who's constantly changing my site, I don't want to do that, because you have to declare it all in your script, in your htaccess file. Too much work, practically insanity, unless your page is not changing at all, right? So I personally recommend against that. I don't need that. I'm already loading the page in 1.2 seconds. I'm happy with that. That's a good page load speed. Anything like 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds and faster is good. Okay, so then I tried it on another page. That last page is hosted by A2 Hosting. They specialize in high speed, even though they don't do everything just right. They have solid state drives, and they do a lot of the stuff that makes your site kind of optimal. But I did it with another one, which is Cloud Access. They're not so, they don't promote how fast they are. They're just a good, solid hosting company. You can see I have similar results down here. Got a 2.3 second page load. And notice my requests, they're at 28. So when I go to add auto-optimize and cache enabler plugins, I brought it down to 1.2 as well. So this is for a hosting provider that doesn't even tout their high speed, but I'm still doing good page load speeds. And notice this is 14. What was it before?
28.
28. So one of the things that when you auto-optimize, you're minimizing the requests. Each page is made up of several different aspects. Each one of those things is a request. So by minimizing that with Cache Enabler and with Auto-Optimizer, the page loads faster. So that's big. But you can't get there unless you do all the other homework. And I had already done all this, and I do this religiously. I optimize my images. So whether it's photos or graphics, I don't make them any bigger than they need to be. And I optimize them with tiny PNG. And there's other optimization tools out there, but it's usually, I'm using PNGs or JPEGs. And both of those can be optimized on tiny PNG, and it'll bring them down to about half to a third of what they were before, which is huge. Because if you need like 10 images on your site, you need them to get smaller or you're gonna have a slow page. You get a slow page, people are gonna get frustrated and leave. So this brought that valve. I think I showed you that valve where I cropped it. Just that one thing brought it down to 1/3 its size, 151 to 55 kilobytes. So this is how you do image size. Now this is a separate thing. Image size in Photoshop, you can just change your size. So here's part of the bigger piece of the puzzle. This original shot I took of this valve protection was 1920 by 1080 because that was the default on my camera. And it was 528 kilobytes. But after cropping it and running tiny PNG on it and setting up its sizing right, because for that image, I only needed 500 pixels wide. I don't need 1920. Most of the sites I go to, which is, I work with pretty small business people. I mean, it's like solo entrepreneur or whatever. Those people aren't thinking this way, and they take the picture right out of the camera and put it on their website, and they end up with slow pages, and there's no need for it. So you go ahead and optimize these size-wise in pixels, and then send them up to tiny PNG. And so we've gone from 528 to 55, 1/10 the size.
I've seen also people who really feel it's necessary to have a large photo will make a link to that photo.
Right, and I've got a customer who's she's a painter. And so for hers, we figure out how big does that image really have to be. It doesn't have to be 4,000 pixels. It needs to be 1920 for her because that's the full screen on an average monitor. So we make that her biggest size. And so when they click on her gallery, that's what they see. And then they close that. Yeah, so even then, people can get carried away. Okay, so factor 7 plus. I kind of combined a few things in factor 7. One is make your home page count, because your home page is like beachfront property. It's the most popular page, so make it really matter. Take real care with it, and choose a solid theme, and choose a solid hosting provider. And that means you got to do a little research. So, and if you want to get people's eyes to go to a certain place, use contrast. There's a lot of principles of design, but contrast is the one that really determines where our eyes are going to go. We're trained, like genetically, to pick out things where there's a lot of contrast. So do that on your pages, and you can make their eyes go in different places. And good ratings are sometimes a function of knowing how to play the game. So be careful how much stock you put in a rating. And I'll show you an example of that. Okay, so here's one of my sites is on A2 hosting, and I, for the most part, like A2 hosting. But look what they do. Thank you for your feedback. Spread the word. Get more iPad entries. And if I put a review on these 3 sites, for each one, I get an iPad entry. That means I get to win an iPad. So they're buying my vote, in a sense, with a good review, right? That's a little bit questionable tactic, I think. And you might disagree with me. Then here's another one. Earn $50 by referring your friends. I'm not sure how I feel about that one either. And then here's one. After they did some support work for me, they said, help us improve our service with one click. If this reply moved your ticket forward, give us 5 stars. Oh, don't give us a fair assessment. Give us all 5. That bothers me a little bit, you know, and I just think one of the reasons I went with A2 was that they had really good rankings. Well, how did they get those rankings?
They bought them.
Apparently. Here you can see some rankings for different hosting providers. And you can see, you know, they're fairly competitive. But whatever, you know, here's Web Hosting Pad. They've only got 3 out of 5. Does that mean they're not as good as the other ones? I don't think so. I think we need to do more research on our own and talk to our friends and see what other people say. You know, don't just look at the rankings on anything. Choose the right WordPress theme. Okay, so I've got a couple of customers that they joined Bluehost, and Bluehost gave them the high, what's it called? The high-end theme over here. And so I'm like, they wanted me to work with their theme. One of them I talked into moving over to Divi, the Divi theme by Elegant Themes. And the other one, he was like, I really don't want to mess with my theme right now, and I don't have any budget or whatever. So we stayed with it. But it was really awkward to work with. And one of the reasons why is if you go to YouTube and you check the videos on like how to do certain things with this theme, the last video was 4 years ago. 4 years ago in today's world is an eternity, right? With a web,
Ancient times.
with WordPress themes, that's reaching. So, but this is what apparently Bluehost gave them, which I don't understand because I normally hear good things about Bluehost. And then I look at Divi, which I use mostly, and I look at their YouTube channel. In the last 6 months, they've got 200 videos. This is just like in the last week. They're very aggressive, and when you need help, they're right on it. They're not perfect, but so far I'm pretty happy with them. So think about your theme. Don't just use the free theme that comes with WordPress because that's junk, right? You'll get what you pay for. And just for general information, most themes, good themes, are only like $50, $75. We're not talking a lot of money. Homepage, what's new? Anything? On one of my clients, we do a what's new. So you always know, hey, something's changed. Or when you go there, you can see, oh, there's 3 new blog posts. Because otherwise, what do you have? The same homepage every time, and they're going to get tired of going to it. If nothing's changing on it, they're not going to go there. Now, if you're changing videos and changing what it looks like, good, but how many people do that? So this is nice because it automatically, when I tag my blogs as, you know, it's a new and it's a blog or it's under what's new, these things just automatically populate. So it's less work for whoever's managing the website. Also, video overview of the latest release. So we have a new video going on the homepage.
I was going to ask you, you talked about, reducing graphic photo size for a faster web page. But say that you get a video, the video is going to be a huge file.
Right.
And is that always just linked out then?
Yeah, it's just embedded. This one's embedded on Vimeo. So it's just linked to the Vimeo
So it
site.
doesn't consume any memory on your homepage,
No.
other than the text of the link, I guess.
Yeah.
Hey, Brad.
Yeah.
Another thing to mention with the having things what's new on your homepage is it helps with your SEO. Google ranks you higher if your webpage is changing up because it says, oh, look, you're doing things with it. You're not just putting it out there and ignoring it. Therefore, it is more relevant. Google's whole point in life is to be relevant. So you have to be relevant to Google so it can be relevant to its people.
Right.
So if you have new stuff doing that, it helps with you ranking.
Good point.
How are
Thank
you
you.
defining what appears? I'm making changes to my site all the time, but certainly I'm not going to have every change I make appear. How do you define what's appearing and then what's new? boss?
Oh, that's just a tool that is part of Divi. You can set the content of that to be based on if things are tagged with, if they're in different categories. Like I'm gonna have a category called what's new. And when I put a checkbox in that for that blog, it appears there. Or if I forget to put it, it doesn't show up there. But the other thing is, what do you want them to do? What's your call to action on the web page? If you don't ask for the sale, you're not going to get the sale, right? So what we're asking for here is do a free day evaluation, a free 7-day evaluation. When they do that, they have to put their email address in, then the sales guy gets that lead. And when sales guys don't get their leads, you know, you hear about it. So we do have a sales guy, and he's like, where's the leads? You know, this is how we get a lot of the leads, right there. Call to action, and then home page, contrast, and message. So this is a machinist I work with. His thing is high-speed machining. That's if I ask him, like, how do you differentiate yourself from the other machinists out there? He goes, well, I've been doing this a long time, and I know how to get the most out of any given machine. And this machine, this Haas VF2, I know how to get the most out of it. And most people run this don't do that. And so what I do is fast machining. I do fast, light passes, and I do a lot of them. And it breaks tools less often, and it gets the part done faster. I'm happy, my customer's happy, and it's the way to do it. But most people don't do this, so that's his advantage. Because if you
that tool he's using is exactly the one I'm going to buy.
well, he's pretty happy with it if it makes you feel any better.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then here, I wanted this picture on his homepage, but I also wanted something as a good background. So I got him to take some pictures with his GoPro because he could put it on the other side of the glass where it might get some of that coolant on it. And but we wanted the coolant because we can't always show the parts because people don't want you to show their parts. It's usually aerospace. So we got a good shot. It's only this big, but I just mirrored it over this way and changed its color, its tonality to contrast with this, so this thing pops better. And then we put his little message here and all the reasons why faster machining is better. And
Yeah, I like the way your background's, it's kind of like different shades of the same color.
yeah,
So you see it, but it kind of stays back.
yeah, and you want stuff to kind of pop up and be back sometimes, and that
Yeah.
using color and tone is the way to do that. And factor 8, this is the last factor, use video to its best advantage. Video is just really a big thing these days, and most of the people you talk to or read about, they're going to say video is it. Video is the best way to explain things, to teach things, to promote things. It gives you the power to demonstrate more clearly than words and pictures. We've seen that thing, a picture's worth 1,000 words, then a video must be worth 10,000 or 1,000,000 words. It's easy to do with a little planning. It gives your product or invention a personal face. It's a way to engage your customers. It can encourage more visits to your website or your funding site, because some of you guys are going to try to launch on a funding site like Kickstarter, right? Same thing. You can promote with a video. Allows you to explicitly distinguish yourself from the competition if you think it through, and it can drive traffic to your website. So if you have a YouTube channel, that can drive traffic to your website. I think you should have a YouTube channel. Here are some basics for video. Think about what you really want the video to accomplish. Don't just make a video. Think about what your goal is. See how others in similar industries have done it. Do your homework. Look at your competitors. Isolate the key advantages you bring to the table. Storyboard and script the video. Don't just start shooting. And storyboard can just be some horrible little sketches that show you what your stages are, with a little bit of writing under each phase. You just do it on just paper. And you say, I want to do this, and here's where we're going to say this. And you kind of do a rough storyboard. Then prepare the area. Prepare the area. So clean the area of debris and all that stuff. Don't skip on your audio. And I'll talk about that in a second. And be careful with your camera positioning and your call to action. And Like with photography, usually you're best off using a tripod. Keep the camera still. Don't try to do pans and zooms unless you really know what you're doing, or it's going to make it look amateurish. You're better off keeping it still. No special effects, and clean shooting area. And I've done this before. I've done this too many times where I shot something. I got a really good shot, but there's dust on it. And the dust shows up because I want to blow it up big. Now I'm seeing the dust. And you know how much time it's going to take to clean that up in Photoshop? It's not worth it. It just drives you crazy. Got to reshoot it. So just get in the habit of doing a really good shoot from the beginning. And I just want to mention this because we have a video. Transmagic has a video that's pretty nice. Nice 3D animated Transmagic logo where you're flying the camera over the logo and then it comes around front and it's just really well done. And then we have a outro, which is where there's like a cockpit and a tachometer and speedometer and it's a race thing. And that stuff was done by interns. The guy who did this, his name's Ethan Helms. He's now making movies in Canada. He was a really good art student we got for free for 11 weeks, for 1 day a week, right? The other guy, I'm not sure if he's been as successful, but he got a lot of this stuff done and I only had to help a little bit at the end. And what this guy did, I didn't have to touch it. I just kind of coached him through. We want this, we want that, right? So this is, it's kind of a hidden thing. If you go to, we got these guys from the Art Institute of Colorado, which is now closed. But now there's the Rocky Mountain College of Art and Design in Lakewood, and they have internship fairs in April, every April. So that's a good source for talent if you want something for free. And it's something for them to put on their resume and to get class credit for it.
Are they using their hardware and software?
No, they have to use yours. So when they did this, they had to come into the office and use our equipment, hardware and software. So that is one of the rules of internships.
And this was like an animation type thing?
Yeah, now with this one, this was done in Maya, and there's a deal Autodesk has. If you have an intern, but you don't have the software, you can buy the software for like a month, for like $160 a month. So if you have a machine that can handle it, you can do it pretty cheap. Or for a couple months, $160 a month. Also, I should mention Blender is 3D animation software and it's free. Blender is free. So if you, and it just now crested this hill. It had a horrible interface and they just redesigned it. So now there's very competitive 3D animation software in modeling software for free. It's just called Blender, or some people call it Blender 3D. Okay, so I want to talk about audio. It's super important. I just talked to a friend who does a lot of video production today, and he got into a thing with some bad audio a couple of times. One of them, someone came to him with a video they had done of a product, and they had some consumer or actors around a conference table. I don't know the whole detail of the background of it, but they're all talking around a conference table about this product, and they had videotaped it. But the videographer had not ensured good audio. So some of the speakers, you couldn't really hear them, though you could see their face. So the whole video was basically junk because you didn't have good audio. So you got to have good audio. So got to consider environmental noises. Some rooms are louder than you think, or we hear some stuff coming from that room right now that could mess up our audio. Plan ahead. Try to negotiate with the noisemakers. Try to turn the fans off. Use proper equipment. I want to mention this. I like this shotgun mic. This is an Asden shotgun mic. It was about $230 or something, but it's awesome. And a shotgun mic picks up direction from right in front of it. So if I'm videotaping somebody, it's going to get them too, as long as they're relatively close. But it won't get stuff out here so much because it's targeted, right? And this is using a really good connector as well. So this is an XLR connection here and here into the camera. So that's what you want, is an XLR connection, if you can afford it. They cost a little bit more, but the connectors are where a lot of these audio things fall down. So good quality connector, make sure you got extra batteries, because a lot of these things need like a AAA battery. Test your audio levels, make sure you're getting audio. Why would you go through all the brain damage of videotaping someone and then not be sure you have the audio? Because sometimes you can't recreate those situations. You might hire an actor or something, and they're like, I talked to a guy today who wants to do like a, you know those things you can do push-ups, and you hold these handles and you can turn them as you do your push-ups? Mm-hmm. This guy has one of those types of things. That's going to need like a fitness model to do it, and you're probably going to want to capture the audio when he's doing it. Once you pay that fitness model and you have that studio space rented, and you screw up the audio, you can't recreate that unless you want to hire them both again, right? So really, these are things, these are check boxes you got to take care of. And then consider all the speakers. If there's more than one person talking, you may need like a boom mic. You might need a shotgun mic that's hanging from above the speakers so that you can pick up what they're saying.
There's one other thing that's really important too. You've got a bunch of speakers, and they start talking over each other. Mm-hmm. You immediately stop and tell them you only talk one at a time.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
And because if there are two people talking, you can't hear what either one of them is saying.
Yeah, yeah. And as a demo guy, when I used to go do a demo, if I said anything negative about the product, my manager would be like, ho, slow down. What are you saying about the product? Right. So if you have somebody you're helping do a video of their push-up device or whatever, and they say something like, hey, it might break, take that out.
Right.
You know what I mean? You got to be positive about your product. Now these guys were doing, I was doing a shoot, these four, and she's kind of interviewing. Actually, it looks like she's interviewing, but she's just speaking first. I knew this was going to be hard to get the audio because it was at a school. So I used this microphone and some XLR connectors into that thing with the shotgun mic. So I was getting audio from both. So in a way, I'm kind of hedging my bets. If one doesn't do well, the other one's going to do well. But when I checked audio, and it was an ice storm kind of thing that day, I got there like everything was just running late. And it wasn't working. The battery wasn't working. Audio wasn't working. Just reset the machine, and everything came back on. But it was like, if I don't have audio, I got nothing, because I cannot fake all these voices doing that stuff. So audio is really critical.
If you're doing a product demonstration or process or whatever, would you be better off or easier done to just voice over the video in a controlled environment afterwards?
Yeah, a lot of people do that.
Like a narration, you mean?
Yeah. Or you can go voiceover. Yeah, that's totally legit. And if you want someone else's voice than yours, you can go to what's it called, Fiverr.com. We found a voiceover artist for a promotional. We did like an animated cartoon to show how if you use the Transmagic product, you become like a superhero. And we paid this guy on Fiverr to do the voiceover for it, because some people are just good at that, and they can do different accents, and we wanted like a couple of different nationalities. And they normally say on Fiverr, it's $5, whatever you want. But when we started telling him, oh, you got to do Japanese and this and that, and you got to time it to our actual video, then the price starts going up. So he made like $250, but we still got a deal, right? So sometimes you're not the guy, and sometimes you are the guy to do the voiceover. But yeah, that'd be another way to do it. Let's say you got the exercise guy and he's doing it, you can do voiceover on it, and just leave the sound that came with that video out. Just turn it off.
I know that you have to be really careful outside, because even a tiny little bit of wind sounds like a hurricane.
Oh yeah, and that's where I was noticing this. You can see what
the dead cat.
Yeah, the dead cat things, they can go over your over your microphones and kind of quench down that wind noise on the microphone. Okay, external sound recording. There's the shotgun mic. Lavalier mic. This can be omnidirectional or unidirectional, depending on what you want. Unidirectional, probably a little safer because it's only going to pick up sound from this direction. Omnidirectional is going to get it from all around. And then these Zoom microphones. I'm not thrilled with mine. I've got an earlier model, but I hear good things about these later ones. So here's the deal. Let's say you're using one of these. You probably want to do something like in front of the video camera, say, take. And then you can match up the sound from that thing, which wasn't even attached to the video, later when you're in Adobe Premiere or something, putting everything together. You bring in your audio, you see the hands come together, you find that little clap sound and you match them up. Otherwise, it's really tricky to get it lined up. Okay, so video, and this guy is just talking about his key advantage. And it's amazing how people become passionate when you ask them the right questions. They speak for themselves. And then sometimes you got to do it over and over again, right? If you guys do your own videos, sometimes you got to do it 50 times before you get the one that really works. And I use Vimeo. So Vimeo, it should be on here somewhere. There it is. You know, with YouTube, you embed a YouTube video and there might be an ad on it, and there might be the next things that come up, you don't know what the suggested follow-up videos are going to be. Could be something wildly inappropriate, or it could be a competitor, which you don't want to see. So with Vimeo, for like $9 a month, I control what comes up after those videos. In fact, even if it's still not, it's still even better than YouTube, even without that. Just Vimeo's free. You can use Vimeo for free up to like 2 gigabytes a week or something. So I prefer Vimeo for doing my embeds. And then YouTube, we make a YouTube channel for, I recommend everybody do this. And then on your YouTube channel for each video and the information, you tell them how to get to your website. So what you're doing is, it's a net out there, like a fishing net, capturing people's clicks via the video. That's one of your marketing channels. But a YouTube channel, or LinkedIn, or Facebook, those are rented channels. You don't own those. They own that. They can change the rules anytime they want. You have no access to your customers. You don't get customer information. Once you get them to your website, that's an owned channel. You own that. Or your email. You get their email and now you're sending them email stuff. You own that. So the idea is get those people into your owned channels where you can have access to them. And one of the ways to do that is try to get their email address, give them something for free, like a cool PDF or something, and ask them for the email in return. And now you've done a minor transaction. They've already bought something from you. They've already done something with you. It's that much easier to go a little further and turn them into a customer.
Is she sacrificing other internet capital by not having videos on YouTube? The SEO that brings, it being a Google-owned company, there's got to be something in there as well.
Yeah, I think yeah, it's the second most visited website in the world, YouTube. Right? You got Google and then YouTube. So that's pretty big. I think there's a rare case where you wouldn't want to have a YouTube channel. It's free. Yeah.
And if you did want it, because of those problems that you mentioned, it's fairly inexpensive to set up your own server.
Oh, you mean for your videos?
You bet.
I think that's outside the interest or range of most people, but I could see someone like you loving that.
Well, I mean,
I don't want to do a video server. Life is complicated enough right now. I don't want to do a video server, but I invite you to knock yourself out. But I think, yeah, it's not rocket science.
no.
Right?
like you'd be your
And
own
there's,
host.
and
Yeah, and
if
you
you
could-
run Linux, the software to do a video server is free. I mean,
Yeah.
it's, you know,
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, that's part of the reason you're an inventor, is you're willing to think those ways.
yeah.
Right? But I've kind of trained myself to, there's certain things I just don't want to deal with because there's so much else going on. This is one that really grabbed me. I saw this on LinkedIn the other day. Someone took a bell jar, whatever this is called, and put a hole in it and stuck some cigarettes in there, one after another, a couple hundred cigarettes, and sucked the air through it. And you can see all these cotton balls totally turning black. And then they kind of cleaned it out, and you can see all this tar, and it says, "This is in your body, before, after, and this is in your body." And I just thought that was a really good pitch for stopping smoking, right? And so that's the kind of thing, when you find a video that really clearly makes a point, you may want to save those links and think about that. Like, how do you do that with your product or your invention? How do you compel people? Because this thing got a lot of hits and a lot of interest because it was so well done, and it makes a really good point that a lot of us should consider. And just how-to videos. If you have something you're trying to explain, videos, a good way to do it. Videos much in demand, works well for talking about your invention or product, selling your invention on Kickstarter or funding sites, driving traffic from YouTube to your site or your funding channel. If your product is something where people might make consumer-based media and send it in, like make a video of how to fly with my new jetpack. Sometimes consumers will do those and drive the interest of your product really high. So if you have anything that other people might become kind of viral where they want to send in the video of them doing it, that's a really good angle. And then grabbing attention on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. There seems to be a war going on right now between like Facebook and different alternate media channels and the old traditional channels of like TVs and movies, because we're starting to see more people watch stuff on YouTube and different channels, and they're hungry. Those channels are hungry for video content because they know they're in a battle with the traditional media channels. So the world is hungry for video content for that reason. So they kind of give you extra credit. It's more beneficial to us to respond to that because they want that kind of content. And as far as which ones you're going to use, you're going to try to do your stuff on Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram. Part of that is just thinking about the channel and what it really lends itself well to. Certain things, certain products are going to show better on Facebook than they are on LinkedIn because they're not as businessy, right? So the thing is, you don't want to try to do every single social media channel. It's too much. Pick a couple. Yeah, Tish?
The other thing to keep in mind is some of the social media channels are closed versus open. So like LinkedIn, you put a video that's specifically only on LinkedIn and it's not on YouTube or something else, you can only find it when you're in LinkedIn because LinkedIn is a closed channel. So if you do a Google search and the thing is only on LinkedIn, people aren't going to find it. So if you write an article or something, now if you're B2B, that's where you need to be because that's where people are going to be looking for this stuff. But don't expect the SEO. You're going to have to rely on other sources for that. And Facebook can be closed depending on how you have your page set up. Instagram is really open compared to other things, but you have to understand what level of closed or open the social media channel is as to whether or not it's going to work with the searching.
Right, and YouTube is obviously very open.
Very open.
If you do a nice video, it can rank higher than the regular web page content. And someone told me the other day, like, I made my website and now, I need to get more traffic to it. Well, you need to go out fishing for customers on LinkedIn and YouTube. You got to set nets up out there You gotta draw people into your site. So it doesn't just happen because you have a website, right? It's a rare thing anyway.
There's something else that I learned too. I was talking to somebody and he said, the best thing to do with any video, especially if it's a serious subject, is to make them laugh. And take the best parts of what makes them laugh, make a separate video for that for the other channels, and drive them to your website where your link to your channel or link to your video is going to be. But if you make them laugh in the teaser, make them laugh on the website, otherwise they're going to be disappointed in you.
I've seen that
Yeah.
too. Squatty Potty and Purple Mattress
Yes.
do pretty good at that.
Yeah,
Their
that's right.
videos, they kind of weave in some humor, but maybe not too much, but
Not too
some.
much, but enough to get you interested.
Yeah.
Now you jump to the website and boom, you're laughing. And
Yeah.
that's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of videos where they're just too damn serious.
Mm-hmm.
And the fellow that has his fast machining, he's too serious.
Hmm.
He ought to make jokes about why other people are slow. You know?
Yeah, he does in some of the takes we did.
Yeah,
He does a little
but
bit of
that's
that.
more important to make people laugh, because if you're making jokes about the people that are slow and he's fast, then, and you don't do it in a mean way,
Mm-hmm.
okay? You're not trying you're trying to highlight the difference between ordinary and whatever service he does.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can make people laugh, boy, that's a huge deal.
The humor's tricky. I mean,
It is. Some
it's
people's
like a
humor
spice.
is.
A little bit's good, but then it can get corny and goofy, and it's.
I'm reading a
Exactly.
book
So you've got
on-
it, and the script helps.
Yeah.
But I think I would just argue that some cases, see, his target audience is aerospace.
Sure.
So he doesn't want humor. He wants to show that he's pro. But and the other thing is I'm reading a book on machining right now, and the guy feels like he has to throw in some witty humor every paragraph. And I'm trying to train my eyes to like skip over that because I don't like his humor,
Right.
you know? And it's a long book.
Right. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. But the humor has to be relevant to what's going on. It can't
Yeah.
be just any old humor. It can't be just any old joke.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so if you need help with any of this kind of stuff, let me know. And I appreciate your attention. I appreciate the interaction.
And give me a card, please.
Okay. And that's it.
Oh, you get your phone.
Any other questions? You ready?
Thank you.
I want to say something. You're looking at me.
Don't, no, good job, Brad.
You know what?
Good job, Brad.
That was what I was gonna say. Good job,
Thank you.
Brad.
Yeah.
Fish said something the other day in another place we were at, and I thought it was pretty interesting. You were talking about a guy who was a doctor or something, and you helped him to understand that his best clients were people who were recovering from some kind of injury. Do you remember that story? It was like a story you shared.
Oh, I tell so many stories.
Do you remember
Some
that?
of them are
It
even
was
true. Let me think. Was it when we were at Elevate
Yeah,
Connect? Was
yeah.
it the most recent one?
Yeah.
Let me replay back in my head what I was talking about. I tell a lot of people to do a lot of things all the time. It's the best part of my job.
Well, it was a massage therapist.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So, yes. I know 3, so now I've got to go back to which one.
Was
I
the
was
one who helped people with injuries.
Oh, Aaron, yeah.
Yeah.
So, which part about that?
He
do you
was
want to
trying
do?
to figure out who his target customers really should be. He's just not an average
No,
therapist.
he's
So
not.
you were able
So,
to
okay.
pull out of him.
Yeah, so we talked about this in detail. So he was trying to figure out, because massage therapy, it's a dime a dozen. There's a lot of them out there. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, some of them are doing really cool stuff, some of them are just generic, like you can get at the mall. And so we were talking, and I'm like, well, who really are you trying to help? And he goes, well, I really particularly work with athletes, or people who are doing a lot of sporting events, because they get injuries and then they can't do their training. And so if they're not doing their training, they're feeling bad about themselves, and then they're maybe trying to push through it or do other things. And he's like, when you actually are doing the proper massage therapy at the proper time, then your training builds on itself, and you can recover quicker, you can go farther, you can do more. And I'm like, so when you're talking to people, do you ever say any of those things? He's like, well, no, I talk about how I do this and how I do that and how I do something. It's features versus function. So the function of the massage is you can go faster and go harder and do better and recover quicker when you're getting the proper massage versus I do 6 ways of this kind of massage. It's all about that. It's all about the customer, not the thing that you're doing. So it's important to remember you want to have certain features in your product or service because that's what needs to be in there to satisfy the needs of the customer, but you don't necessarily want to talk about just that. You have to talk about what they need. And so when we got into that, then he was like, oh, and he changed what he was saying, and all of a sudden that next week he had 3 or 4 bookings. Boom, just like that, because we changed what he was doing. Another massage therapist I know cannot get off of that he wants to help and do geeks that need massages, because he's a geek and a massage therapist, and so he goes to all the Comic-Cons and the gaming conventions and things like that. And he's like, well, you're a geek, so you want massage because I'm a geek and I do massage. That's not why. People who are at the gaming conventions are sitting in chairs for long periods of time and they hurt. And they might not think about going and getting a massage because geeks tend to be more like, don't touch me, that's weird. So you have to get over that and get to, you can game better, you can do other things. You're not sore and walking weird when you get out of the convention, and getting in the car is hard. I haven't been able to get him over that hump. So he's still struggling. While the other guy, he's in his stride now. He actually is getting referrals all the time because people now know how to refer it. And that's the best kind of marketing you can do. When you've designed your experience and your message well enough that people are like, oh, I get that. I know Bob needs that or whatever. Now your marketing is done through advocates instead of you having to hit the pavement via Facebook, Google, changing your content all the time, doing all that. The work is done for you. So it's still important where you've got to be putting the effort into the content. You have to have a digital presence. Whether that digital presence is a 20-page website or a really well-crafted 1 or 2-page website, because more is not necessarily better, doesn't matter, but you do have to have something out there so people can find you because there's no phone books or anything anymore.
And then it's like the customer, what's in it for them? You gotta think like them.
You have to
rather than-
become them.
Yep.
That's my job. Then Brad makes it look awesome.
Give me your card. You just did a conversion.
It's my job.
Thank you.
Pass one, that would be fun.
Yes, you're out.
Because you need to come to my Italian.
Yes, bathroom.
So shoot me an email.
Okay,
Do you have a card?
yes, it's
What aspect?
on the table.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yes.
Somebody for engineering things, things as opposed to consumer products as opposed to.
Yeah, most of my background is retail. So, one of my customers is a painter, so it's Sure,
Oh, thank you.
I'm an artist too, so it's hard to nail it down.
That's right.